Have you ever looked at your bank statement and wondered, where did it all go? Or maybe you've thought, am I using my money in a way that really supports the life I want and the family I love? Mastering your money isn't about having more. It's about making what you already have work for you and for the people who matter most. When we think about money, it's easy to reduce it to dollars and cents, to charts, or to the bottom line on a statement. But the truth is, money behaves more like the seasons than a static number. There are times in life when we're planting, setting down roots through saving, investing, and building habits that strengthen the soil for the future. These are the years when discipline matters most, when you might skip luxuries to focus on the essentials. Just like spring planting, the effort doesn't always look glamorous, but it sets the stage for growth that isn't visible right away. Then comes the harvest season. This is the period where you begin to enjoy the fruits of what you've put away. It could be retirement years, when the focus shifts from growing wealth to using it wisely. Harvesting isn't about indulgence, it's about allowing yourself to enjoy the life you've prepared for. Whether that means traveling, spending more time with family, or simply having the freedom to say yes to experiences you once postponed. Think of it like a well-tended garden. If you never pick the fruit, all that planting feels incomplete. But every gardener also knows about pruning. In financial life, pruning is letting go of what no longer serves you. Maybe it's downsizing to a smaller home that's easier to maintain. Maybe it's cutting unnecessary expenses that quietly drain your energy and resources. Pruning isn't loss, it's making room for healthier growth. It gives you space and freedom, which often leads to more peace of mind. The rhythm of these seasons is what keeps money from becoming a source of fear or guilt. Families who recognize the seasonal nature of money often find they can breathe easier because they understand it's not about being perfect every single year. It's about adjusting to where you are right now. For adult children, seeing parents adapt with grace can be a powerful lesson. For seniors, remembering that each season has its purpose can take away the pressure of feeling behind or not doing enough. When you view your money in this cycle, you stop comparing yourself to others who might be in a different season altogether. Someone else may be planting while you're harvesting, or pruning while you're planting again. The beauty is in recognizing your own rhythm, respecting it, and making choices that honor the stage you're in. That shift alone may change not only how you handle money, but how you feel about it. Money is often one of the most avoided topics in families, not because it isn't important, but because it feels heavy, complicated, or even embarrassing. The family calendar trick is about changing that dynamic. Just as birthdays, holidays, and anniversaries are marked down to celebrate together, why not set aside intentional time for financial conversations? When something is written on the calendar, it becomes part of the family rhythm instead of a rushed, awkward discussion that only comes up during a crisis. Imagine a couple penciling in the first Saturday of each month for a short coffee table chat about bills, goals, or even small wins. It doesn't need to be hours of number crunching. Sometimes it's as simple as reviewing spending for the month or deciding how much to save for an upcoming trip. The point isn't just organization, it's consistency. Over time, that habit builds comfort and reduces the fear many people feel about money talks. For families with adult children, adding these conversations to the calendar may also open a door to bigger discussions. Things like retirement planning, legacy wishes, or even healthcare decisions. When these talks are scheduled, they don't feel like surprise announcements. Everyone has time to prepare, reflect, and bring questions. It turns what could be tense into something cooperative. The beauty of this approach is that it mirrors the way families already operate. We gather around shared dates for celebrations, so why not for shared responsibilities too? A calendar entry sends the message that money is not a secretive or shameful topic, but a normal part of life worth revisiting regularly. Even young grandchildren observing this habit will learn that financial awareness is just another part of family tradition, like Sunday dinners or holiday rituals. What makes this trick powerful is that it transforms money management from being reactive to proactive. Instead of waiting for the moment when a bill is overdue or a retirement decision can't be delayed, the calendar acts like a gentle reminder that these conversations deserve respect and space. It's a small step, but one that shifts the atmosphere from tension to teamwork. Over time, those scheduled talks create not only clearer financial paths but stronger bonds, because families learn to face life's practical side together, not in isolation. It may seem like a simple idea, but that's why it works. It blends into everyday life while quietly reshaping how families handle one of their most important responsibilities. Most of us have seen budgets written as neat lists of numbers on a spreadsheet. Rent, utilities, groceries, entertainment, all lined up with amounts beside them. The problem is that numbers alone rarely stir the heart or motivate change. A budget without meaning feels like a set of rules imposed from the outside, something to obey reluctantly. But when you connect those numbers to stories, suddenly the budget becomes alive. It turns into a reflection of your values, your family, and the memories you want to create. Think about it this way: instead of seeing, dining out, 200s, imagine labeling it as family pizza nights with the grandkids. The number is the same, but the meaning shifts. You no longer see it as wasted money, but as an investment in laughter, tradition, and bonding. Likewise, travel 100-500 could be relabeled as trip to visit Sarah's new baby. Now, the figure isn't a cold expense, it's a reminder of connection across generations. These stories act as anchors, reminding you why the money is being used in the first place. This approach also works in the other direction. If a budget line feels hard to justify, once you give it a story, that's a signal. For example, subscriptions, Audible, might turn into shows we never watch anymore. Seeing the label written out in plain language makes the decision to cancel much easier. By attaching real meaning to spending, it becomes clearer which expenses enrich your life and which ones quietly drain it without giving much back. Families often find this method more unifying than spreadsheets alone. A couple may disagree about cutting costs until they frame the expenses as stories. One partner may feel strongly about maintaining Sunday brunch with friends, while the other might care more about saving for the family reunion trip. Once these stories are visible, the conversation shifts from conflict over numbers to a deeper understanding of what each person values. What makes budgeting with stories powerful is that it transforms money from a task into a tool for creating a life you love. Numbers are necessary, but they're not the whole picture. By connecting every dollar to something meaningful, you not only stick to your budget more naturally, but also ensure your money reflects your priorities. At the end of the day, no one remembers the spreadsheet. What they remember are the stories those numbers allowed you to live. When people think about managing money, the first instinct is usually to tighten the belt, cut expenses, and save every penny possible. It feels logical because we're told again and again that saving is the golden rule. But here's a counter-intuitive truth. Sometimes the wisest financial move isn't cutting back, it's spending. And specifically, spending on stability first. This doesn't mean indulging in luxuries or overspending on things that fade quickly. It means putting money toward the foundation of your life so that everything else feels more secure. Take the example of a car that constantly breaks down. On paper, repairing it every few months might seem cheaper than buying a more reliable vehicle. But those surprise repairs don't just drain your wallet, they also create stress, wasted time, and sometimes even safety risks. In the long run, Investing in something stable, a dependable car, often costs less and gives back peace of mind. The same goes for a home with drafty windows or faulty wiring. Spending to fix those problems may not feel exciting, but it creates comfort, lowers future costs, and protects your health. Stability also applies to services that free up your time and energy. Hiring help for yard work, groceries, or even minor repairs may seem unnecessary, but for many families, it prevents burnout and opens space for meaningful moments together. It's not just about buying convenience, it's about buying back time, something that becomes more valuable with age. That investment often pays dividends in well-being and stronger relationships. For retirees or those nearing retirement, this mindset can be especially important. Spending on stability might mean updating insurance coverage, creating a reliable medical plan, or organizing legal documents so family members aren't left scrambling later. These aren't glamorous expenses, but they prevent emotional and financial chaos down the road. The surprising part is how liberating this approach feels. Once stability is covered, budgeting and saving become less about fear and more about choice. You aren't scrambling to patch holes or react to emergencies. You're standing on solid ground, free to focus on goals that bring joy. Families who spend first on stability often find they argue less about money because the essentials feel secure. Instead of asking, "What if something goes wrong?" they get to ask, "What do we want to do next?" That shift is worth every penny. It's easy to think that financial trouble comes only from big mistakes, like overspending on a house or taking on too much debt. But more often, it's the small, unnoticed leaks that slowly drain a person's financial strength. Benjamin Franklin's old warning, "Beware of little expenses, a small leak will sink a great ship," captures this perfectly. In daily life, those leaks show up in quiet ways: a subscription you forgot to cancel, an insurance policy you never reviewed, or that habit of picking up things just because they're on sale. On their own, they seem harmless. Together, over months or years, they can quietly steer a family's budget off course. Imagine a ship sailing across the ocean. A giant hole would sink it right away, but a steady drip from a crack below the deck can cause just as much damage over time. Money works the same way. You might never notice the missing 20 here or 40 there, but add those leaks up across years, and they may be equal to a vacation you never took or a fund for emergencies that never grew. What hurts most is not just the money lost, but the opportunities that slipped away with it. One of the best ways to stop these leaks is through regular check-ups. Set aside a quiet afternoon to look at bank statements, utility bills, and recurring charges. Ask yourself whether each expense still serves your life, or if it's just been carried along out of habit. Families who do this often find surprising areas of waste. A gym membership no one uses, a streaming service that overlaps with others, or phone plans that could be adjusted. None of these changes feel dramatic, but together they can make a meaningful difference. Stopping small leaks also teaches an important lesson across generations. When children or grandchildren see the value of mindful spending, they carry those habits into their own lives. It becomes less about being frugal for frugality's sake and more about respecting the effort that went into earning each dollar. Plugging leaks is not about deprivation. It's about directing money toward what truly matters: security, experiences, and relationships. In the end, a well-kept ship doesn't just stay afloat, it sails further and steadier. By paying attention to the small leaks, families ensure that their financial journey is not cut short by carelessness. The reward is a smoother, more intentional path toward the life they want to live. When people hear the word legacy, they often think first of bank accounts, properties, or investments left behind. While those things have value, they don't fully capture what family members truly carry forward. Legacy is bigger than money. It's the lessons, traditions, and values that ripple across generations. Long after a check is cashed or an inheritance is divided, what remains most vividly are the stories told at family gatherings, the recipes passed down through hands, and the sense of responsibility or generosity shaped by how money was handled in life. Consider the difference between leaving a sum of money with no context versus leaving that same money along with guidance about how you earned it, what sacrifices were made, and what principles guided your choices. The first is a transaction, but the second is a gift of perspective. Children and grandchildren who hear those stories begin to see money not just as numbers, but as a tool connected to resilience, patience, and love. That's a legacy that stretches much further than a bank balance. Legacy also shows up in traditions that cost little but carry weight. Think of the Sunday dinners that gather everyone around one table, the annual trip to a simple family cabin, or the habit of writing handwritten notes in holiday cards. These patterns of care shape how future generations value time, relationships, and continuity. Often, it is these traditions that children fight to keep alive, because they remind them not only of the person who started them, but of the spirit that ran through the family. Even financial planning itself can become part of a non-monetary legacy. When a parent shows the discipline of budgeting, the courage of talking openly about money, or the foresight of preparing documents to prevent confusion later, they're passing on habits of responsibility. Those habits may outlast any inheritance, because they equip the next generation to handle challenges on their own. The beauty of legacy being more than money is that it levels the field. You don't need to be wealthy to leave something meaningful. A story, a recipe, a lesson in kindness, or an example of perseverance can echo for decades. Families remember the way you lived, the values you practiced, and the wisdom you shared. Money may support them for a season, but legacy, in its fullest sense, carries them for a lifetime. Mastering your money isn't about perfection. It's about making choices that line up with your season of life, your family's needs, and your vision of stability and legacy. What's one small step you could take this week to feel more at peace with your money? Share your story in the comments. Your experience may inspire someone else on this journey.